to the first episode of the Spud Fit podcast. I decided that I had a big year last year. It was a year of self-improvement and change, and so many things happened in my life, and a few of those things were appearing on podcasts. I had a great time with Anna Chisholm on her podcast and Darren McDuffie on his podcast. Had a really great time with Rich Roll on his podcast, and I really enjoyed having those conversations. So one of the things I wanted to do this year was find more ways to spend time having good conversations with people on cool podcasts, and it seemed like the only way I was going to get to do that would be to do my own podcast. So here we are, the Spud Fit podcast. This podcast, I want it to be about basically talking to people who think outside the square, people who do things differently, people who aren't afraid to push the boundaries and get out of their comfort zones and do things differently to what society expects us to do. And on top of that, the Spud Fit Challenge was all about improving myself in the end. It was about changing my relationship with food. It was about learning to be myself again, basically. And it was a big year of big change for me. But it's not, the Spud Fit Challenge is over, but improving myself will never end. So that's also part of this. I want to talk to people who have done amazing, inspiring things and see if I can learn from these people to help my journey continue and help me to continue to improve myself and continue to explore what I'm capable of. So, having said that, we're about to talk to the man, James Aspey. I was lucky enough to meet James Aspey in the beginning of, or earlier in the year, not in the beginning of the year. I can't actually remember how that came about now, but that's not important. The important thing is that in my very, very first video of 2016, where I was introducing my Spud Fit Challenge and talking about why I wanted to do it, at one point in the video I mentioned how I thought it would be a very hard thing to do, basically. To go for a whole year with only eating potatoes would be extremely difficult, and I wasn't sure that it was something that was even possible. But I did want to give it a try, and one of the things I mentioned in that video was that if James Aspey can go for a whole year without talking, which he did a couple of years ago, then surely it can't be that hard to go for a whole year eating only potatoes. A whole year without talking sounded way more difficult, so James, without knowing it at the time, was a little point of reference for me and a little bit of inspiration. He wasn't the whole reason for doing this, but he was someone who gave me a little bit of confidence that things like this could be done because he has done something along the same lines before. So it's been nice to meet James a few times over the year, and he's kindly agreed to sit down for this conversation that you're about to hear. And I hope you enjoy it. Onto the Spud Fit podcast. All right, here we are. Let's start off. There's probably a lot of people listening to this who don't know who you are. So
surely not.
Yeah, well, one or two.
Oh, maybe one or two. Yeah, well, my name's James Aspey, and these days I'm an activist for peace, man. I'm trying to increase the peace in this world, and I focus a lot on animal rights because I think that's something everyone can make a difference in. You know, we are either supporting the animal cruelty by purchasing animal products, or we are helping them out of their suffering and out of their exploitation by living a vegan lifestyle. So that's the main thing I promote.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have followed you closely. I know you've got a huge following, but I think there's probably a lot of people listening to this that just eat potatoes, mate, and they're not that interested in what else goes on.
They're my kind of people.
Yeah, mate. So, well, let's just talk about how this came to be, because I'm guessing you didn't grow up as a kid thinking, I can't wait to get older and so I can go around talking about animal rights and attend 16-hour vigils at outside abattoirs and things like that, you know.
No, probably, not at all.
So, you know, where does the journey start for you to this sort of life?
It started a long time ago, because actually I never cared about animals for only until really about 4 years ago. I'm 30 now.
Yeah, right.
And things really started for me when I was 17 and I was diagnosed with cancer, and I had leukemia and lymphoma. and I put
Wow, okay, that's
yeah,
heavy.
it was heavy, man. Real heavy, real tough time. And I put on about 25 kilos in that time and got my first true understanding of what it's like to suffer.
Yeah, right. How did you put it? Does chemo? I don't know much about chemotherapy. Does that make you put on weight, or how does
It
that
can.
work? Yeah.
A lot of people get skinny as well, but for me, I was on a high dose of steroids and I was eating a lot, mate.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
I was eating constantly because I couldn't get satiated. I couldn't satisfy my hunger. And I put on 25 kilos so fast that it created tears on my body, not just stretch marks, but they actually ripped my skin on my sides.
Wow.
It was blood, you know?
I've never heard of that. That's
you should,
serious.
They're pretty thick, man. They're not little thin stretch marks. They're thick.
I've got some stretch marks too, but they came slowly, you know.
Yeah, mine were like in days.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah, so, and a lot happened during that time, and I really got the experience of suffering. I was in a lot of pain, and I nearly died a couple of times. And I'd never really understood suffering before because I'd lived such a cushy, privileged lifestyle.
Yeah, as most of us do, eh?
That's
right. Most people in the West anyway, myself included.
Absolutely, man. In the West.
Didn't have much to worry about growing up, did we?
Nah, not at all, man. Nothing. I was a very safe neighborhood, and the worst thing that happened to me was a sprained ankle skateboarding kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was fine. So that understanding of suffering, did lead into some things that I'm doing now, but after that, I met a personal trainer who helped me lose the 25 kilos. And he was a very inspiring person and, trained me for next to nothing, just wanted to help me. And I was so inspired by what he'd done for me that I wanted to do the same for others. So I decided to become a personal trainer too. Okay,
cool. That's quite a big thing in itself, just to be inspired by someone who helped you and just to want to take it further. So
it was huge, man. It was
so
huge.
We're already seeing this is the evolution, this is the beginning of the evolution to try to help ease the suffering in the world. This is
exactly because what he'd done was so much more than just help me lose weight. By helping me lose that weight, he'd helped me out of my suffering. I felt so bad being 25 kilos overweight. That had never happened to me before. And I was just very uncomfortable. I'd always been a fit person. So he didn't just help me lose 25 kilos. There's so much more that came with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% on my year that I've just had. I've lost 55 kilos so far. And everyone wants to focus on the weight loss. But for me, it's like, the weight loss is only a small part, When you lose that weight, it just gives you so much freedom, just totally changes your outlook on life and changes just everything. So
absolutely. It renews your life, man. And I felt so inspired by that. I decided I'm going to do the same. So I became a personal trainer, very passionate, and, helped a lot of people. And I ended up working on cruise ships.
What sort of personal trainer were you, first of all?
Very positive, very passionate. I wasn't the most knowledgeable personal trainer in terms of, what all the muscles are called and, but I could connect with my clients and I could...
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And I could, inspire them to change with the knowledge I had, which wasn't, huge, but I knew enough that I could help them. And I think the biggest part of it is to get them to want to help themselves. And I felt like I was pretty good at helping them get to that point.
Okay, cool.
So
and get more specific with it. What sort of training were you into and that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, well, I was training mostly, quite a wide range of people, but mostly people who just wanted to lose weight or get stronger and fitter.
Yeah, okay.
So they were my main clients, pretty general population stuff.
So not like elite athletes and things like
No,
that?
not really. Like some people training for different things, but nothing too serious. Yeah, pretty general stuff, man.
Yeah.
A couple of bodybuilders and things like that. And I did that for 7 or 8 years, and I ended up working on a cruise ship and traveling around the world.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was so much work, man.
That's not the answer I expected.
You start at like 6 in the morning, you end at 10 o'clock at night. There's no laws on the international waters or something, so they just work you to the bone.
Who are you going to complain to?
Yeah, that's it. You're stuck there, man. You got to do what you got to do. No, there was a lot of fun actually, and I met tons of interesting people. I was meeting 1,000 new people every week coming through the gym. One day I met a very wise Indian man, talked a lot like I'd imagine the Buddha would have talked. He was an intelligent man.
Yeah.
And he spoke to me every day for 2 weeks. We just hung out every day.
So was he a personal trainer too? Or?
No. He was
A traveller?
an older man,
Yeah.
you know, just chilling, just walking around the ship one day, and we met, and he'd come into the
cool.
gym and we'd chat. Yeah, just having a holiday.
Yeah, right.
And on the last day of our conversations, he said that eating animals is bad karma.
Okay.
And, you know, I'd never cared about animals before, mate. Even, you know, I had a dog at home, like when I lived with my family.
Yeah.
Didn't really care about my dog.
Yeah, okay.
I just always thought of them as dirty, slobbery, and not very much more complicated or intelligent than plants.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see them as...
Yeah, okay.
I did not understand what animals were. Hadn't had much time with them, just didn't care to either.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing more boring to me than watching a nature documentary about an animal. I was like, oh my God, who could care less about this? Yeah, so much has changed. They're like my favorite now. And
yeah, to someone to go from that sort of not really interested in animals to now devoting your whole life to trying to improve the lot of animals on the world, that's a big change.
It's a testament to the power of education.
Yeah.
You know, when you learn what you were once ignorant about, it can just change everything.
Yeah, I think Maya Angelou she's an author. I'm pretty sure she's dead now, but I remember a quote of hers. I've got a mental blank on the start of it, but the end of it goes, "When you know better, do better."
Totally.
And
I love that
wish
quote.
I could remember the start, but yeah, when you know better, do better.
Yeah.
And that's embodies what you're talking about, I guess. You didn't know better, so you didn't do better, and then you've learned and you've changed. So
yeah. Well, I still at this point wasn't doing any better.
Yeah.
For anyone but myself.
Yeah.
Because he said eating animals is bad karma. I just cared about me.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, well, if this is bad for me on some level, you know, I didn't know how much I bought into the idea of karma.
Yeah.
But this man was so intelligent, and I respected him, and I thought he could be onto something here, whether he calls it karma or it's actually something else. There's something going on here.
Good vibes.
Yeah, whatever. It could be a health thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought I respect him enough to, you know, for everything he's taught me over the last two weeks.
Yeah. So basically, what he's saying, and saying that eating animals is bad karma, is saying that in one way or another, it's going to come back to you.
Or it's negative in some way.
Yeah,
he calls it karma, maybe it's something else. It just made me think, okay, about the topic, that there could be something to what he's saying.
Yeah, okay.
So I decided, all right, I'm going to go vegetarian for 1 week, cut out meat for 7 days, see how I feel. Being a personal trainer, I expected to feel, or I should say being an ignorant personal trainer, I expected to feel very tired, sluggish, weak in the gym, you know, not healthy. Yeah. And even just a few days in, I had noticeable changes of more energy, better digestion. I felt happier, funnily enough. I felt, strong. I felt great.
And this is just cutting out meat, so you haven't cut out dairy or eggs or anything yet?
No, I was still eating both.
So just a few days of cutting out meat and all these changes happen.
Because I think because I was working on a cruise ship, and on the cruise ship, it's a buffet every meal. Oh, yeah. And on the buffets, all I do is load my plate up with meat. I'd barely eat anything else.
Yeah, I imagine that. Imagine myself back in the day before all my changes happened, and imagine if it was a buffet every morning, my plate would have been loaded with bacon, loaded with eggs.
Exactly. They had ribs, man. I'd make a pyramid of ribs on my plate, and that's all I'd eat. Yeah, you know, I didn't care for fruit or vegetables or grains or anything.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so that's what I did, and so that's why I think in 3 days I felt better.
Yeah, well, big change. If you suddenly, you probably, if you're anything like me, that was probably 2/3 of the diet has changed. Like swap it out for something else.
At least 2/3. Yeah, like 9/10.
Yeah.
And so I was intrigued, and I decided, well, okay, I feel this good. There might be something to this. Yeah. I want to know if I can continue feeling this good. Yeah. So I started doing research into the health benefits. Are there health benefits? Is this sustainable? And I'd always believed that there's no such thing as a healthy vegetarian, because that was something that a personal training mentor had told me. Yeah, that was me
too. And I guess lots of people don't know about me too. Just to give some background to where my thoughts come from. I'm a PE teacher, so similar sort of study, maybe a little bit more in depth than a personal trainer, but similar knowledge. We're told all the same stuff about what you got to eat to be healthy and fit and strong. And it's always, if you want to be strong, you got to eat heaps of meat. got to eat eggs, you know. It's all the same stuff that personal trainers learn. And I've also got a degree, a Bachelor of Applied Science in Human Movement. And that's all, you know, it's basically it's an advanced personal trainer degree, to put it, you know, as simply as possible. And yeah, it's the same stuff. Even
meat for protein, dairy for eggs. Dairy for calcium.
Yeah. It's all the same stuff. So
totally.
I just thought I should include that just to show that, you know, whatever level, wherever you're coming from, and all throughout society, whether you're a personal trainer or whether you're got a degree or whatever, it's just that's the pervasive belief system.
That's the predominant thing being taught. Eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. You know, make it lean and do this and that. But it's the same crap.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so for me, I started looking into being vegetarian for health benefits, and I was absolutely blown away that I was learning that not only can we be healthy by cutting out all animal products, not just meat, but by cutting out all animal products, but we can actually be far healthier because we're cutting out cholesterol, we're cutting out saturated fats, we're cutting out animal protein, which is carcinogenic.
Isn't that a weird thing? I remember learning about that as well. When you go from thinking that animal protein's awesome and healthy, and then suddenly you start reading about, hang on a second, protein might actually, instead of not being healthy, it might actually be unhealthy.
Total
weird
180.
Is that? Like, that's
before you're doing whatever you can to get as much protein as you can, and then you're like, what am I doing? This is actually not good for me.
Yeah, and you're talking about this insulin-like growth factor 1 is this, you know, and you're talking about casein in dairy products, and you know the list goes on about how it's unhealthy and why it's unhealthy, but just that mental shift is just like, it's like, you know, taking the blue pill or the red pill in the Matrix, you know. It's just so it was weird for me. I remember going through all that. It was just a weird time.
Totally. It is weird because like for the 7 years being a personal trainer, I would tell people, don't eat any fruit, it'll make you fat. Eat massive portions of meat, whatever meat you can. Eat
definitely
your eggs.
Steer clear of potatoes.
Oh, don't even think about potatoes. I'll go straight to your ass. So I was really shocked by what I was learning, and I was excited too because I thought, wow, I'm shocked that I can be healthy as a vegetarian, but I'm also feeling so good that I'm glad because I want to keep this up, and because I also realized that the food was actually good. I was eating curries and I was trying tofu, which I didn't think I liked, but is actually amazing. Yeah. And I was eating burritos and beans and all this different stuff. Yeah, I was eating so much more variety.
Yeah.
You know, like the more I started sticking with it, and then I was really just feeling great, and I started promoting it to the people I was meeting on the cruise ships. You got to go vegetarian; it's so much healthier. You know, I'm telling all these people all this totally different information that I'd ever said in my last 7 years.
Yeah, right. So that change happened pretty quickly for you then, that change in your understanding about what's healthy and what's not. That was
it just made sense to me. It seemed so much more logical. Yeah. And made sense, because I was also learning about the physiology of the body. Yeah. And, that we're much more built like herbivores than we are omnivores or carnivores. Yeah. The way our teeth move and the way we sweat and the length of our intestines and
we don't have those big canines for ripping meat away from.
People call these little things we've got canines. Good luck chowing into a cow in the paddock with those things. Come on. So I thought this is very logical. It's making sense. I'm feeling good. I've got no reason not to at least give this a try.
And that's where it comes back to feeling good. Like you can read all the theory you like, and you can everything. You can do as much education as you want. But in the end, when you try it and you feel good, then it's like bang, this is something. I'm onto something here.
Totally.
But until you actually get that experience of feeling good, you're never going to be sure. It's
absolutely.
You just got to try.
And that's the thing though as well, that some people try, but all they do is eat lettuce. They all just eat salads because they don't know what to eat. And it's like, if you're going to try it, learn how to try it properly so that you will get all the benefits you can get.
Even when like people write to me that are interested in doing a short period of time of eating only potatoes, they got a lot of people who just got so many questions about this and that, and what sort of spices, how do I cook it, all this, and often I've just got to say, look, you just got to stop. At some point in time, you've got to stop asking questions, and you just got to do. And, you know, if you do it, you're going to learn way more than you're going to learn from asking me questions. You know, there comes a point in time where you've just got to, even though you haven't got all the answers, you know, you're standing on the edge of a cliff, and you know, there's this big drop away, and at some point in time, you've got to just take a step out into the empty space and trust that there's going to be a path is going to appear beneath your feet, and it'll take you to where you need to go. But you know,
absolutely,
you just got to take that step and just
absolutely, and then experience it for yourself. Yeah, because that's how you really learn.
Yeah,
you know, you can read as many books about surfing as you want, but until you get on a board and get out there with the waves, you don't know how to surf.
Yeah.
You've got ideas, but it's nothing until you try it for yourself.
And you'll never experience that feeling of what it's like to ride your first wave. You know?
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point. So I also started learning, you know, I'm looking into this constantly. I became just so interested in this new way of thinking and the health benefits. I'm reading some books about it and just loving it. And then I started noticing that so many people aren't vegetarian for their health, but they're vegetarian for the animals.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that. I'm like, who cares? You know, you do this big thing for just animals. Why?
Yeah.
I didn't understand. And I thought it was worth at least exploring, you know, why is everyone seeming to do this thing for animals? Who cares? But all right. I noticed this documentary kept coming up called Earthlings.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a heavy one. It shows all the ways that humans exploit animals for food, clothing, entertainment, medical testing.
Yeah.
It's a very heavy documentary. You know, it's hard to watch. It's like a real life horror movie.
Really? Well, yeah, I was, me and my wife tried watching it once, and honestly, we just watched the preview to start with, and it was only like 2.5 minutes worth of preview, and it was like, I didn't even get halfway through that before I needed a box of tissues, and I'm like, nah, I know lots of people have watched that documentary, but I'm just not even game to press play on the beginning of it after seeing the preview. But I do, you know, I watched it after I'd already stopped eating animals. So for me, it wasn't important because, you know, I didn't.
You're already there.
But I do think that if you think eating animals is a good idea, then you should definitely watch that.
100%. Everyone should definitely.
Not because I can't personally comment on what the documentary is, but so many people I've heard from think it's a powerful and important thing. So I just got to trust that and think that, people should watch it.
It's one of the most important documentaries I think that exists.
Yeah. Because
we're all involved in this, you know, and a lot of us don't realize what we're actually participating in. Yeah. And neither did I. Yeah. And so when I watched it, you know, I'd seen footage of animals being slaughtered before. But it didn't faze me because I thought at that time there was no such thing as a healthy vegetarian. Yeah. We need to eat animal products to survive and be healthy.
Yeah, I had those feelings too. It was like there came a point where I started feeling guilty about, you know, I shouldn't be eating animals, but what are you going to do? I need my meat.
I need protein.
You know,
that's right. I
feel bad for it, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to feel guilty about this. Yeah. I'm a human. Yeah, it sucks, but that's
just
life. The circle of life, bro.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what I used to believe. And then when I watched this documentary, I had a new perspective that we do not need to eat animal products to be healthy. In fact, we can be healthier without it. And so I watched it and I saw these animals suffering, you know, being tortured, mutilated. Yeah. It's a disgrace. It is the disgrace. Yeah. And these are the most innocent and vulnerable beings on this planet. And we treat them worse than we would treat any pedophile, any rapist, any murderer. Yeah. We treat them, you know, worse than you cannot even imagine what they go through. It is horrific.
There's not really any point even trying to describe it because it's not describable. But
to do that to another living being, to put them through so much pain and suffering, I can't imagine what could be worse personally. Yeah, I can't imagine a worse thing to go through in your life.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I saw this...
Sorry, you go.
When I saw this, you know, like I said, I didn't care about animals. But I am not a cruel person. I see myself as a peaceful person, as a good person. I like...
As most of us do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like helping people out of their suffering. That's why I'm a personal trainer. Yeah. And seeing this cruelty... understanding how I'm a part of it, how I'm creating the demand for it, how without my dollar, it doesn't happen. But because of my dollar, it's forced to happen. With that understanding, I saw it and I thought, okay, I'm no animal lover here, but I know oppression when I see it.
Yeah.
And I know violence and cruelty when I see it. And fair enough, it's one thing if this has to happen for us to live. But when this is 100% unnecessary for our health, I cannot think of any justification that comes close to making this okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I decided then, I just said, I'm no longer vegetarian just for my health.
Yeah.
In fact, that is just a bonus now.
Yeah.
I am 100% vegetarian for the animals. And now then I didn't understand at the time, but that was actually not the whole story either. So after meeting this Indian man, and I asked him one day, I said, how do you know all this knowledge about the universe and all these things? And he said meditation.
That was the next thing I was going to ask you about, actually. So you've led us there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's meditation's a big part of your journey, isn't it?
Still is.
Yeah.
Still is. I get so much from meditation.
Yeah. And meditation's something that I have tried in the past and still continue to try to make it a part of my life, and I'm just haven't been historically that good at making it stick, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to hear more about your experience with meditation anyway.
I love talking about meditation because I love sharing it, man. I feel like it's just a gift to share so much.
And it's another way that you can help ease people's suffering.
Yeah, and increase the compassion in this world as well, because that's what it does. It does so many things. The list of benefits from meditation is huge.
Yeah, okay. So how did you get into meditation then? Let's get back to that.
Yeah, so this man, he told me meditation was how he became so wise. And I wanted some of that wisdom, so I decided I'd do one. And I booked in for a meditation I'd heard about once called Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent meditation. You go to a place, you meditate 10 hours a day, you don't speak for the entire time, you don't look at anybody, you don't cook or clean, you don't do anything. You just meditate and sleep and eat. And
that sounds hard.
It is hard. It's a lot of work, man. People always say to me, how was your retreat? And I'm like, what retreat? I didn't retreat at all, man. I went and confronted everything because there's no escape.
Yeah.
You know, you can't escape when things are getting uncomfortable inside your body and mind. You can't escape to the TV or your mobile phone. You can't escape to the fridge for some food. You can't escape to the pub for a beer. Yeah. You can't escape with a book or writing things. You can't escape anything. It's the most confronting thing ever. It's the opposite of a retreat.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting to think of it that way, because the only meditation I've ever done has been like 20 minutes, maybe half an hour at the most of sitting, and then you do have that period of time where you've got your thoughts that you're trying to clear your head of thoughts and all that, but you know, for 10 days that's
you go deep, man.
Half an hour doesn't get that intense, you know.
Nah, half an hour is good. It's just before it starts getting intense, really. So around the half an hour mark starts to get bad. By 45 minutes, you think, oh my God, I can't go on any longer. And then the next 15 minutes every minute feels like an hour. And if you can make it to the hour, by a lot of the time, there's been quite a bit of suffering if you haven't adjusted your position and things like that. So I go to this place and I meditated for 10 days and I learned a technique, very valuable technique. That's probably one of the most valuable things I have in my life right now. And on the 5th day there, the technique's about observing your sensations.
Yeah. Can we talk more about the technique?
Sure. The technique is incredible. So basically, the story goes that this is the technique that the Buddha discovered to fully liberate yourself from suffering.
Okay.
He meditated like a scientist, observing, trying to figure out what is the root cause of suffering. And many people knew that suffering began from craving things that you don't have or resisting things that you don't want.
Yeah.
So craving or aversion.
Yeah.
And people knew that, but they didn't know the root cause. And the Buddha wanted to find that. So he searched through observation of himself, through meditation, and he discovered that the root cause of suffering is your reactions to the physical sensations, reacting either positively or reacting negatively.
Yeah.
So, for a while I thought it was the thoughts. I'd observe my thoughts and thinking that by observing my thoughts and instead of just thinking about, doing it, being in the process of thinking, that I could come out of my suffering. And that does have benefit.
Yeah.
Just like observing your breathing, it does have benefit, lots of benefit.
Yeah.
And observing your emotions, all these things have benefit, but it's not Vipassana, and it's not the technique that the Buddha has discovered to fully liberate yourself from suffering.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
because the meditations that I've done have been like you're talking about observing breath and about observing thoughts, and the technique that was sort of about like trying to observe your thoughts as you would observe a busy road, where a thought comes into your mind and you just let it go past like a car on the road. You just let it drift on through. And but I haven't really heard the ideas that you've just talked about. So
and like I said, they have a lot of benefits in that meditation too. But to fully liberate yourself from suffering, to get to the point where there's no craving, there's no aversion, and it's a long path. You don't get that in half an hour.
This is getting rid of craving. This is a big thing for me, because that's what 2016 was all about. Trying to eat only potatoes and just stop this constant craving that was going on in my head. This, obsession with trying to get the next amazing, delicious meal. Similar to what a drug addict is obsessed about, where they're going to get the next hit. I was constantly thinking about what I'm going to eat next and how I can make whatever I eat even more delicious and fantastic and whatever. And to step back from that and find a way to get rid of these cravings was a big thing. So, obviously we crave more in life than just food. There's all sorts of cravings that we have. So you're talking my language now.
Cool,
so,
man. Well, it's the habit of craving. We can, if we quit one addiction but we don't learn how to come out of craving, then we usually just replace it with another. And I've got experience of doing that as well, quitting drugs and using food as my new drug, which led to having an eating disorder, because I hadn't addressed the root cause of the problem. I just switched my drug from, all these different kinds of drugs to food, because I hadn't dealt with the actual issue, which was that I could not sit in uncomfortable sensations in my body. I wanted to escape them, and so I resisted them. So I'd escape with what I knew would help me get rid of it, which was the drugs or which was the food. Okay. But that just made me go deeper into my habit of reacting to craving.
That's interesting that the way you talk there, because it makes me feel like I'm sort of on the right path, because a big deal for me was when a craving popped up for chocolate cake or whatever, it wasn't, I'm just going to go and try and do something to distract myself from that craving until it goes away. Like, I'm not just going to go, okay, I'm just going to go and sit and watch some TV and try and just ride it out. It wasn't that. It was, for me, it was really about confronting the craving and really getting to know it. Like, really trying to...
Absolutely.
Trying to make friends with the craving almost and really understand, like, it's really quite petty in the end when you get to...
You're so right.
When you get down and really try to understand, I want this chocolate cake. It's like, I start to think of myself like a small child in a supermarket begging mum and dad for a lolly or something. It's like, this is so immature. Yeah, this is when you get to know it. Like it's hard to think of that.
It is emotionally immature. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, you're right. It reminds me of, when you get a craving, when people get a craving, let's say for a cigarette, it's like this huge shadow looms over them, like the shadow of a monster. And you get so afraid of it. You react so strongly. Yeah. But if you just turned around, you would see that actually it's just a very, very tiny monster. Very tiny. Like a tennis ball with a torch behind it, making the shadow look huge. Okay. And when you face a craving, you realize, this is actually... Why have I been reacting so strongly and negatively to this? Yeah. This is not so bad.
Yeah, and then you have that experience of not giving into a craving, and then you can reflect and think about that, and like, if I don't give into the craving, is it really that bad? Well, actually, no, it's quite good.
And what you learn is that it passes. It will pass. You don't need... it's not going to just stay there for the rest of your life until you have a cigarette or you have your chocolate cake. Yeah. Nature will take care of it. Just like it arose, it will also pass away.
Yeah, this too shall pass.
Exactly. That's it. That's the nature of the universe.
I don't know who said that first. This too shall pass.
It's a great quote. It's a great quote. And it's very true.
I'll look for it, but I don't know who it was that said it first. Yeah.
It's a phenomenal quote because... Yeah, the worst thing that ever happened in your life, however it makes you feel, that will pass. Yeah. It will change. It's always changing. Everything is always changing.
Yeah.
and the craving changes. It might be 9 out of 10. Then it changes to 8 and 7 and 6. It might go back up. But anyway, so...
Sorry, we're getting sidetracked
we are.
here, aren't we?
Although it's a good conversation because, it's important to understand the technique and how it works. So I start practicing with this technique and I notice a very strong sensation come over me. And I'd never felt it before. And what I thought it was my body trying to get me to speak because I hadn't spoken in 5 days already. Yeah. And I started thinking, wow, how long could I keep going not speaking for? It's been 5 days. That's pretty sweet. And I thought, man, imagine doing a year. And I was like, wow, you know what? I reckon I could actually do that. Yeah. That's kind of up my alley. Do something crazy and weird like that. But
sounds weird, but obviously I get it now. But before I started, I was into these sort of weird challenges. I hadn't done anything as extreme as what I have done now, but I was always, that's an idea that would have
resonated.
It would have resonated exactly. It would have made my ears prick up and go, there could be something in this.
Me too. I just thought, that's a cool idea. Not often do you get for me, it wasn't often I get a really cool idea that was kind of outside the square, and I thought this is actually an interesting idea. I'll consider this a little bit more, a bit seriously. And I did. For the next 5 days, I meditated and I...
So this was during that 10-day retreat this happened?
On the fifth day.
Yeah.
And by the 10th day, I was doing it, man. Yeah. I was convinced. So I started... As soon as I got out of there, I started planning for it, telling everyone, guess what I'm doing? I'm doing this thing.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm going to do it for animals, because they're voiceless. So I'll be voiceless. I thought that I have to do it for something or else people just think I'm weird. Yeah. So I decided I'd do it for animals, the voiceless victims of this planet. I'll raise awareness for them through my own voiceless action. Yeah. And I started learning more and more about it, because I wanted to be knowledgeable about the topic. And... I kept coming back to, what really happened, my friend was asking me about it, my cousin actually, she was asking me about, what's this voiceless thing you're doing? Yeah. So I'm doing this thing to raise awareness for animals. And she said, oh, that's interesting. And as I was telling her this, I was eating a piece of cheese.
Ah, okay.
And it's very easy to connect with suffering when you're looking at meat because that's been chopped off somebody's body. Yeah. They obviously suffered and...
Yeah.
Well, they died.
Of course they did, yeah.
Their body part was chopped off them.
Yeah, whether you want to believe they suffered or not, they're dead.
They're dead. It's not much more cruel. There's nothing much more cruel than taking the life of somebody who wants to live, even if they didn't suffer before it. Yeah. You rob someone of their entire life. Like, what could be worse, really? Yeah. And so I had told her this, I'm doing this thing for animals, and I was eating a piece of cheese, and I hadn't really connected fully yet that actually dairy is at least as cruel as the meat industry, as is eggs and leather and the entertainment industry that exploits animals and testing products on animals. It just hadn't really sunk in yet. Yeah. And I was eating this piece of cheese and I thought, man, I'm being such a hypocrite right now. I say I'm going to do this big action for animals, but I'm still contributing to their suffering and killing by just eating cheese. Like, just for cheese? That's what I'm carelessly contributing to their suffering for, so I can eat a bit of cheese. Yeah. I just thought, what am I doing? I need to stop this. And that meant that I needed to be vegan, Yeah. And for me, I knew a little bit about vegans, but I always thought they were like extremists. And why be vegan? Just go vegetarian if you want to stop suffering. I didn't understand that there's suffering in all animal products. Yeah. All animal products are a result of exploitation. Yeah. And exploitation is always wrong. Yeah. I didn't want to support that. So I decided, man, I need to be vegan. Oh no. How did this happen to me?
It's a daunting prospect, isn't it, when you don't know what you're doing?
I was like, what am I gonna eat? I don't know what I was gonna do, man,
You're just gonna sit in the park and you're gonna play your bongos and eat some lettuce and that's it. That's what you do when you're vegan.
Yeah. Like, oh no, I'm gonna have to grow my hair. My hair's so curly.
It's gonna take me ages to get dreadlocks.
Yeah. Can I be vegan before that or not? And so I was, all right, well, I have to go vegan. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. And that's what I did. I decided I would go vegan. But I was back and forth for a while because, like I said, I had that eating disorder. I was bulimic. I had a very strong, it wasn't a body issue thing for me. Yeah. I was the epitome of an emotional eater. Yeah. And I just could not stop myself.
Yeah.
Could not stop myself.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
It was hell, mate. I've been through a lot of things with drugs, with cancer, like I said. But by far, there was no battle worse than my battle with bulimia.
Yeah, right.
I just thought I'd never come out of it. It had me. It had complete hold of me. I thought I'd exhausted my options. I'd read so many books. I'd tried so many times, but I didn't know that I was an emotional eater.
Yeah.
And so when I finally learned that, when I accidentally stumbled across a book called End Emotional Eating by Dr. Jennifer Tates, when I read that book, when I read the back of that book, I looked at it. I read the back of the book, and I was like so excited. I thought, this is me.
Yeah,
this is going to be it. This book is going to be it. It's the key. I just read the back and I knew, man. I took time off work. I'm reading this book right now. And I read it. Like,
so interesting that, like you say, you didn't know you're an emotional eater. I bet everyone around you knew that you're an emotional eater.
Do you know what? I don't know. I just, with my experience with training so many people, I think a lot of people aren't even aware of what emotional eating really can be.
Because I can tell you that my wife knew I was an emotional eater before I did, long before I did.
Yeah, maybe it was just me that was ignorant to it. I think people know a little bit about emotional eating, but there's so much to it. Basically, if you're eating for any other reason than hunger, you know, it pretty much, like almost always, like there's a couple of exceptions to that rule. You might be bodybuilding and you're eating to grow, for example. But
for the general population,
generally, if you're eating for any other reason than because you're hungry, you are most likely emotional eating.
Yeah.
You know, you're eating because you're bored. You're eating because you're tired. You're eating because you want to enjoy something. You're eating because you're sad. Like there's so many reasons. Yeah. And I did not know that was me, mate.
Even the other way around, like we eat to celebrate too. Birthday cake's a perfect example.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
You know, you take a great occasion and think you can make it better with eating junk. Like,
exactly right. And you end up feeling so crap about it. It's crazy. You go out for a celebratory meal or Christmas and you spend the rest of the day wishing you didn't eat so much. You ruin your day.
Yeah, it's a weird situation.
We're in some bad habits. We're humans are interesting animals.
Yeah.
So I read this book. I became so excited. But anyway, I still had this issue when I decided I needed to be vegan. So I'd go a few weeks, eating only plant-based.
Yeah.
And then I'd have a blowout every now and then. And then the day, I spent the year planning my vow of silence. And then January 1st, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2014 is the day that I started my vow of silence. And on that day, I also vowed to be vegan 100%, to never knowingly consume another animal product.
That's interesting that happened on the same day. Because you would think, I would have thought without knowing that if you've decided to do a vow of silence for a whole year to raise awareness for animals, that you've probably been vegan for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to me that happened on the same day.
Well, it all happened fast because, I went vegetarian and then only a couple of months later, I had decided that I was going to do this vow of silence for animals. And because I was instantly passionate, I thought, I don't even really care about animals that much. I don't even love animals that much.
Yeah.
But I know how wrong this is, what I'm looking at. And I'm speaking to animal lovers who are telling me not to ruin their dinner.
Yeah.
Don't ruin my dinner. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah,
and I thought, there's something so wrong with this situation. I guess I need to do something.
Yeah.
I just felt compelled. I felt a responsibility to take action and to do something. And so it happened so fast, man. So I was still really kind of finding my feet with it all.
Yeah.
And I spent the year planning the vow of silence and learning about animal rights. And I would have been vegan sooner had it not been for my emotional eating problem. Because I didn't want to be eating dairy. I didn't want to be binging on ice cream.
Yeah.
I just didn't not know how to not do it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
And I'd eat it every couple of weeks, when I was having a blowout, just feeling so guilty about it, thinking about the cows and just going, what am I doing? But I couldn't, I just couldn't help myself, man.
Yeah.
And so I vowed to go voiceless for a year. I vowed to become vegan for the rest of my life. And I also vowed to never spew after another meal again, to never purge the food out of my body after another meal. No matter how bad I binged, no matter how horrible I felt from eating too much food, I would not go that next step and put my fingers down my throat.
Yeah.
And
powerful. And that's actually like most people would say that, one thing at a time, man. Let's just tackle one problem at a time. You've gone big there. You've gone
big
three
day.
big things at once.
Yeah,
That's
I did,
huge.
man. It all just kind of fit in with each other.
Yeah.
And there were moments where, I'd be, so I traveled around the country that year, Voiceless. There were moments where I was hungry. I was doing a long drive. I'd go to the service station. I'd find a delicious looking muesli bar. I'd read the back and there was honey in it.
Always honey.
Yeah. And I thought, damn,
Yeah.
should I just eat it? It's just a bit of honey.
No one's going to know.
Yeah, no one will know. And I thought, you made a vow, buddy.
Yeah.
You will not be eating this. You're going to either go hungry or find something else.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did that. So there were times, a few moments here and there. But similarly, one day after I took my vow, I did binge. I binged on a tub of So Good ice cream, which is delicious vegan vanilla ice cream, and a tub of peanut butter mixed in.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
Sounds pretty good to me, yeah.
It was pretty good. Although I would never eat that now, but it was good at the time because I was still coming out of my emotional
I never thought of that,
eating.
mixing peanut butter in with the ice cream. I would have been all over that back in
Oh,
the day.
yeah, you missed out. You missed out. It was good. So I was a lot better, getting better with my emotional eating, but it was it wasn't one step, a one step path to coming out of it. It took time and trial and error and work. I didn't just read that.
It's never a linear equation. It's not just like a straight line to freedom and health and all that. There's ups and downs. That's unavoidable.
That's right, and you just gotta just pat yourself on the back instead of being hard on yourself and just keep trying, keep going.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing. And this time I did have a binge a couple of weeks into my being voiceless. And I felt disgusting, mate.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was vomit.
Yeah.
And ice cream is very easy to vomit.
Yeah, okay.
It was the easiest food to bring back up.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Yeah, it makes sense.
And it doesn't taste bad when it comes back up either. It tastes like ice cream. So I thought, all right, I could do this, but I thought if I do, all I'm doing is going back into my vicious circle,
I had sort of similar moments like that, and I always pictured this scene from The Matrix where Neo's in the car and they've just they're driving off. They've just got in the car, and then the guy in the front seat turns around with a gun, and they get that machine out. They want to get the bug out of him, and he starts freaking out. He goes, "Stop the car!" and he goes to get out, and the camera looks down a long dark road, and it's raining, and there's street lights on, and he goes to get out, and Trinity grabs his hand and says, "Trust me," and he turns around and says, "Why?" And she says, "Because you've been down that road. You know exactly where it leads, and I know that's not where you want to be."
Yeah.
And I replayed that scene in my own head heaps of times when I had cravings to eat something that wasn't a potato.
Wow.
I would say, oh, that scene just jumped out at me, and it was like, you know exactly what's going to happen. If you eat that slice of cake, you know that, you can't tell yourself that you're going to go back on the diet tomorrow, because hundreds of times through your history, you've told yourself that and you haven't done it.
Yeah.
So you know that if you break this one time, then you're going to break again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. You know where that road leads, and you don't want to go down there. And your story just reminded me of that.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's a very good way of looking at it. That is what I felt as well. I thought, okay, I could purge after this, and I'll start again tomorrow. But I thought, man, I've said that so many times, and where has it got me? So much suffering and so much stress. I thought, listen, just tough it out, mate. You ate it. You're going to sit with it.
Yeah.
You made a vow. You're going to sit with it, and you're going to suffer, because I'd rather suffer with a full stomach of peanut butter and ice cream than go back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Maybe this, who knows what will happen, but I'm trying something new at least, whether this is a solution or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to just try something new, because I know what happens if I vomit this up.
And you don't know what's going to happen, but one thing you do know is that something's going to be different.
Exactly.
And you don't like the way things were, so different is enough.
Yeah,
Let's just make things different.
Exactly, exactly right. And I did, and I sat with it, and I felt disgusting, man. And then the next day, I still felt disgusting, but I was so glad.
Yeah.
I was so happy that I kept it in. I'd done something different.
Yeah.
And it was the start of something different. And next time when I did binge, which was however long later, I remembered that time.
Yeah.
I thought, ooh, maybe I just won't eat quite as much in this binge.
And that's like, to me, that's the whole picture of emotional eating. Like when we want to have a binge or eat, chocolate cake or pizza or whatever, we just get stuck in that instant gratification sort of thing. And eating that peanut butter and ice cream, you probably love it while you're eating it. Not all of you, but most of you thinking, oh, this is great, I'm loving this and whatever. But that's the only bit you think of with emotional eating. But emotional eating takes in so much more. And when you think about that, the experience of emotional eating that you had continued on into the next day, and it continues on to this day, and it's like, how are your emotions affected?
If you weigh it up, it's no contest.
If you take the whole experience and bottle it up into one moment and feel it at that time, then it's not even there's no decision to make.
It took me 10 minutes to eat that ice cream, and I suffered for hours. I enjoyed it for 10 minutes.
You're still suffering the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
Yeah.
With regret, and I knew I would have to, that was some extra weight on my body that now I was going to have to work a little bit harder in the gym, and just knowing like mentally that I did it, so guilt.
Yeah.
For what? 10 minutes of palate pleasure? It was ridiculous. But it's instant gratification. You're right. And I slowly started coming out of it. Slowly started being aware. Oh, I'm just emotional eating now. I'm not even hungry. I'm full. I don't need to continue eating. Or I remember how bad I felt after that last time. You know what? I'm not going to do that this time.
Yeah.
And instead I started surfing the cravings, surfing the urges.
Yeah.
Feeling them, going into them. Sometimes they were uncomfortable, but every time you sit with it and you observe it, and then you have the experience of it passing, which is what happens every time.
Yeah.
You become a little stronger. Because you know then that's what will happen. Whether you eat the ice cream or not, the craving will go either way. If you've got a craving for a cigarette, you can smoke a cigarette and it will go away. Or you can just wait 5-10 minutes and it will go away anyway.
I love that way you put it, surfing the cravings. I haven't heard it put like that before. But
really good quote that helped me a lot. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf.
Yeah, and the waves will die out. You catch a wave, you're not going to ride it forever. And
that's right. And when you don't start surfing 10-foot waves. You get a really strong craving, it might break you. You might get smashed and not be able to surf it.
But such a good analogy.
It's like great, isn't it? But you start with 3 foot, and then you start realizing, I can surf these waves right to the end of the wave, and then paddle back out. And as the waves get stronger and stronger, you can handle them too. And with emotional eating, like I'm at a point now where I have a better relationship with food than almost everybody I know. This is the relationship with food I always wanted that I never thought I would have. Ever did I think I could get this. I eat when I'm hungry. I stop when I'm full. I don't, I don't crave really anything. I just eat what's healthy for me.
That's cool. I feel in that same place at the moment too. I think it's probably a bit early since my Spud Fit Challenge finished. Like it's only 12 days since it was over. So I think I'm probably a bit early to say that I'm done like you are, that, you're probably going to be in that space that you're in forever. But I do feel like it, that,
it's a big shift in the right direction. And you've still got waves to come that, cause you're 12 days in, but how good a surfer you are. Well, you've been through a lot of craving this year, I'm sure. So you're probably quite experienced at surfing these things.
I love that surfing, the idea of surfing the cravings, because that's exactly what it is. It's just
ride it out
and just, experience it. Just don't turn your back on it. Just experience it and be part of it and understand it, and then let it go.
I think the understanding of it being impermanent is a really important thing to listen to, because if you think it's just going to be there forever, you don't want that, and you're gonna go, oh, I need to get this uncomfortable feeling away from me now. I'll just eat the food. But if you just can remember in your mind that this is going to pass soon. This is going to be over soon. Just give it 5 or 10 minutes and feel it throughout that whole time. And then when it does pass, you're stronger in the knowledge of impermanence. And next time that wave comes, you've surfed it. So you can surf those kind of waves.
Confidence only comes from experience anyway.
Exactly right.
Like if you've never done a backflip, you can't just step up and do it. You got to work up to it,
That's it.
And then once you've done it a few times, it's easy.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that year I spent Voiceless and promoting animal rights and my journey through a blog.
Yeah.
And I broke my vow of silence on Australia's most popular morning TV show, actually 2 years ago today, to this day.
Yeah, big day.
Yeah, and you know, I spent 10 days again in meditation before I broke that vow of silence, thinking about exactly what I wanted to say. I wanted to do the cause justice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to spread a vegan message because I think it's one of the most important messages of our time.
Yeah.
And I spoke, and that interview was seen by millions of people all around the world.
Yeah.
Went viral, was picked up by news in different countries, and it raised a lot of awareness, man. Yeah. And
absolutely. And it changed the direction of your life. Like we
did.
said earlier, it's like, you know, it did. I guess it did. You didn't really have that much attention during the year.
No,
apart
I didn't.
from within the vegan community itself, there were people
little
following
bit.
you. I read your blog a little bit, and I wasn't like a devoted follower, but every now and then I'd check in on how you were going. And but yeah, then that interview happened. It blew up.
Yeah.
And life changed.
It gave me a voice, man.
Yeah.
You know, before my way was being voiceless, and then after that interview, everyone wanted to hear me speak. So people started inviting me all different places in the world to come and speak about my journey, and I did, and I went and talked to them. And just by talking about my journey, people would come up to me after and say, "Oh my God, I am so inspired to go vegan right now."
Yeah.
And for me, I thought, wow, you know, this is a powerful story.
Yeah.
People want to go vegan after me just
Yeah.
telling my story. I'm going to tell everyone this story.
I have heard you speak. I've seen your talks on YouTube, but I've heard you speak live once as well. And you do have a way with words, and it's like the way you talk is really approachable, and it's not like you're not standing on the stage screaming at people that they're murderers and whatever.
No.
It's just, you know,
you're
just sharing your story, aren't you?
Exactly,
And it's like, you know, people can do with it what they want.
Exactly right. You know, I don't believe in blaming and shaming people because they can't help it. Just like a few years ago, I didn't know any better either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conditioning in this world that tells us that eating animals is natural and normal and necessary.
Yeah.
And how can you blame someone because they're still consuming animal products when they are a victim of those lies and that conditioning as well? I feel sorry for people that aren't vegan because they're contributing to something so cruel, which is likely so far against who they are as a compassionate, kind, respectful person. They're killing themselves by eating food that's very unhealthy. And it's just a really sad state that we're in, that there's so much propaganda and brainwashing from meat, dairy and egg industries and all that kind of stuff that people are so confused and they have no idea what they're doing.
And you can't blame people for that. Like most people who are vegan, nearly everyone wasn't vegan at some point in time.
Exactly.
You know,
we're lucky, man, to have got that message, and that's why I spread it because it's been such a gift in my life.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much better I feel as a vegan, eating plants only, respecting animals, being a friend to animals, not contributing to so much suffering and killing. I feel like a new man, and I feel, oh my God, like there's nothing more I want for everyone else as well than also to feel so good, but also for these animals. I want them to come out of their suffering too.
It's a true win. Like there's no losers out of this.
Oh no,
like,
it's so positive. It's so positive, man.
Yeah,
it's all positive.
It's good all around.
Even the food is better. I eat better now than I ever have eaten in my life.
Yeah. Me too, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, you're eating live food from the earth. You can combine it in every way. You can eat every one of your old favorite meals, but a vegan version. Burgers, pizzas, pastas, curries, ice creams, chocolate, anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without the cruelty, without the killing. And, you know, there's phenomenal vegan meals. Yeah, it's better in every way, man. And that's why, why, I mean, a big portion of what I do now is to spread this message. Yeah. So I've spent the last 2 years traveling around the world giving speeches. I give them all for free. I don't want to make $1 from telling this story because I want everyone to hear it. I just want everyone to feel good, and I want these animals to stop being killed. So the speeches I give for free, and last year I also got tattooed for 24 hours straight.
Oh, yes, I wanted to ask you about that too. Yeah, that seems like an intense experience.
We decided we'd get tattooed for 24 hours straight. There was 3 artists and 3 people getting tattooed. Each pair went for 24 hours. and we thought it'd be a cool way to, you know, raise
It's
awareness.
crazy.
We've live streamed
I've got
it.
thoughts of getting. I've not got any tattoos. You're like most of your body's got tattoos on it now, but you know, I've had thoughts of getting my own tattoo, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I was thinking of maybe getting a little potato somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I've got the balls to do that. So.
Oh man, nah, it's fine. It's not even bad. But 24 hours is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
sure.
you know, we'll live stream the whole thing. We ended up raising about $20,000 overnight. But
That's massive.
It was good, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the last hour, the 24th hour, I put it out there. If someone donates $1,000, I'll go a 25th hour.
Yeah.
And they did. Someone rocked into the shop with $1,000 cash. And that last hour, man, that was painful.
Especially when you've just spent the hour before that getting ready to
Thinking
finish
I was
up.
done. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I got a little worried for my health in that last hour because all my lymph nodes swelled up. I was in a lot of pain.
yeah, right.
But yeah, we did it, man, and it was really good. And this year, I'm just focused on, you know, just spreading this positive lifestyle, living vegan, how fun it is, how healthy it is, that we're normal people, you know, we're just people that care. We're not obsessed with animals. We're not, you don't have to be an animal lover even.
Yeah.
You just have to respect them enough to believe that causing unnecessary cruelty to animals is wrong. And this year I'm focused on, just spreading how positive this lifestyle is and, you know, how great it is, man. So that's it.
Yeah, cool. So we got to wrap this up in a couple of minutes and get you to the airport. But
yeah, cool.
Before you do that, you got any goals in your life going forward? Obviously, you want to continue your activism, you know, and whatever ideas happen, I'm sure you'll come up with more ideas in the future. But you know, from a personal point of view, like, how do you want to improve yourself in the future? What sort of goals do you have for yourself?
Fitness goals at the moment. I'm, you know, also to promote the lifestyle, but I've let my health and fitness slip in the last couple of years just out of, you know, I felt a lot of guilt, to be honest, over the last couple of years. Knowing what happens to animals and then just going to the gym or going to a party. You know, I haven't been able to really enjoy myself because I felt guilt. But now I realize actually...
So like, who am I to be off having fun
how
while
dare
they're
I?
suffering?
How dare I when I know what's happening? You need to be doing something.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense,
Yeah, I've been to the factory farms, man, and outside the slaughterhouses and... You know, when I know how much suffering they're going through, like it has been hard. But now I realize actually one of the best things I can do to promote this is to show that, you know, that we can be happy, healthy, and live great lives as vegans. We don't have to be upset about animals all the time. Yeah. And so it's great because it's win-win because I get to help animals even more by being more mainstream and just doing all the things that I have always loved, like surfing and partying and skating. Yeah. And the animals, you know, more people are gonna, I think, be interested in following my journey by having those things involved. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be better for the animals too. So a goal this year is to get fit and strong. Yep. Again.
Well, we share that goal then, because
cool.
I'm putting the fit into Spud Fit this year. That's my goal. So,
last year you put the Spud into Spud Fit.
That's right.
Cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, I got a couple of other ideas for activism. I'm gonna be donating a kidney to just a
holy
random
shit.
Person.
My jaw just dropped.
I noticed. That'll be next year, I think, because this year I've you know, my goals are a little different. But I'd like to do that early next year, donate and make a campaign out of it as well, you know, to tell people.
That is big.
Yeah, that's why I want to do it. To you know, I'm going to save someone's life, but also I'm going to inspire a lot of people to help others out of their suffering. In some way, you don't have to donate your kidneys, but you can go vegan. You know, that's a big thing everyone can do. Yeah, yeah. And, you know, also to inspire people to help people, even if you don't know them. Who cares? Yeah, yeah. You know, suffering. Yeah. You wouldn't want it to happen to you. If you can help someone else out of theirs, do it. It's one of the best things you can do.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's going to be big.
My tingles down my spine from that.
That good, big, man. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. You know, we only need one kidney. Yeah. So hopefully,
especially the clean living man you are,
exactly,
you know, you're not putting a lot of stress on your kidneys.
No, I eat perfectly well. I don't do any drugs anymore. Like the day that I had the idea for the vow of silence, I also quit drugs, and that had always been a big problem in my life. So I haven't done drugs since. That was 4 years ago. I haven't, you know, since the day I vowed not to eat animal products, haven't eaten any animal products. And that same day that I said I'd never, you know, be bulimic again, I haven't had a single relapse. So my body's healthy, man. I meditate every day. I feel like, I'd be a good candidate to give some of my kidney and stay healthy myself.
Yeah, definitely. So let's wrap this up with one final thought. You're obviously, just from that last couple of sentences, you're someone who's good at saying you're going to do something and following through and doing it. So can you give us one final thought on, for, New Year's was a couple of weeks ago, but there are people that are trying to stick to New Year's resolutions. So one final thought to how you can help with that.
Sticking to New Year's resolutions.
Well, not just New Year's resolutions, but making big changes in your life.
Sure. I think it's really important to have a clear intention of what you want to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be the goal, like specifically, but a clear intention of the way you want to live your life. So for me, my intention in life is to contribute to making this world a kinder, more peaceful place for us all to live, and to be an instrument of truth and of peace. That's my intention in life. And that intention is like, it helps me navigate through life. So when things come into my life, I can say yes to things that are in alignment with that intention, or no to things that are not.
Okay.
So having that clear intention gives me like an idea of how to, what things to say yes to and what things to say no to.
Really, really interesting. Just to have one simple mission statement, a CEO of a corporate organization would call it. One simple statement, and anything that comes into your life, if it fits or it doesn't, it's an easy way to make decisions.
Exactly, man.
All right,
it helps a lot. Thanks,
we got to get you to the airport, mate.
Let's go.
But thanks for being the first guest on the Spud Fit podcast.
It's been an honor, man.
You're an extreme man, and I can relate to that.
Cool. Thanks, bro.
Thanks for doing what you do, and thanks for inspiring me and inspiring all these other people out there. And let's go to the airport.
Happy to do it, man. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
All right, cheers. Spud up, everyone.
Yeah.
All right, what a great conversation that was. I thoroughly enjoyed having James on for my very first ever Spud Fit podcast. If you enjoyed that and you want to learn more about what James is doing and what he's about and things that are going on in his life, then check out jamesaspey.com.au, jamesaspey.com.au, and here's James Aspey on all the social medias too. So give him some love. I really enjoyed talking with James, especially about the cravings and how James used meditation to turn his life around. So nice to know a bit more about what goes on in the mind of James, rather than just his experiences as an activist, which lots of us already know lots about. If you enjoyed this conversation, then please share it with friends. That's the best thing you can do for me. Share it with anyone who you think might be interested, and help spread the love for me. If you want to learn more about me or what I'm doing, then check out SpudFit.com. You can find information there about how to buy my book, the DIY Spud Fit Challenge. Sorry, our book. I wrote it with my wife, Mandy Van Zanen. You can get the book there. You can get t-shirts there. You can sign up to take your own Spud Fit Challenge and develop a better relationship with food. You can also sign up to have personal coaching with me. It's not about potatoes, folks. It's about learning how to make better, more logical choices. It's about taking the emotion out of decisions that we have to make, and it's about learning the true nature of sacrifice. I think I've spoken enough now. Like the podcast on iTunes. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave a review. It would be even better. Thanks for listening, everyone. Tune in next week for another interesting conversation. Spud up.